Oh, Mosongo, welcome to the podcast. It's so excited to talk to you. You've got a fascinating history and you're up to some fascinating work. You've written a book, but let's go way back to your childhood and growing up in the Congo and talk a little bit about that and talk about how did that get you thinking about leadership?
Yeah, I mean, I was born in the Congo, and so I grew up both in Congo and in Belgium, back and forth. So the idea of being a leader it comes really from my upbringing. My parents taught us to always be kind to people, to be if you have enough, don't mind sharing it with others. I remember when we were children, some of the relatives who did not necessarily have, enough, they would come, and my mother would always give them a bowl of rice for them to take home, and so on. So I grew up within in that kind of environment, and also through my own education, primary school, I went through a school that was run by the Jesuit, Catholic priest, the Jesuit. And I remember those days they were focusing a lot on this idea of service, of serving others, apart from the focus on the intellectual rationalization and so on. But there was one aspect there that was always of service. So I think the way even I've led over the years, and I think that idea of being a servant leader, at least that aspect of leadership, I think it came from there. Huh? That sort of thing. And also, Tom, the fact that I've lived like that in two cultures, and I've been fortunate with my professional career to have worked also with people from different countries, like Mexico. I run a group that was based out of Austria, another one from Netherlands, Brazil, and so on. So it helped me have a better appreciation of culture, other people, and then realizing at the end of the day that there is a common denominator. We are all human beings. We are all yearning for the same things, really.
Yes. Well, this is our first time meeting, Mosongo, and I went to a Jesuit high school myself here in Michigan, and my son's actually going there next year. I told him he could go to any Jesuit school in the state of Michigan. Now that's sort of true because there's only two in the entire state, and so he didn't really get a choice, and actually just joined the board for the other Jesuit high school. I'm a big fan of theirs. This whole idea of being men and women for others. This idea of being of service is really at the heart of effective leadership. And so talk to us a little bit about sort of you're now the president of Hathaway Advanced Materials, I believe it is.
Yes,
And
yes.
jump all the way forward and talk a little bit about what does leadership look like in this day and age. It's 2023 and the world is changing rapidly.
Well, I think what is at the heart of leadership, Tom, I think is really a human connection. I think at the end of the day, human beings, we all yearn for that connection. You were mentioning before our conversation here, the book by David Brooke, A Social Animal. We are in fact social animals. We yearn for that connection. So I really think that leadership, what is at the foundation of leadership, is really that connection. So leadership is really a set of behaviors, I would say, set of behavior and action, and then it comes from values, values that guide us, that guide our decisions and behavior. It comes from the vision we have for ourselves and for others, and it shows in the trust and connection that we build. So that's really what I see there, and perhaps I see just looking at the leadership and looking at all the turnover I've seen during my career. I think that element of engagement, of the leader engaging with the people, engaging with the teams, quite often lacked, and so you get a group of people there that are somewhat disengaged or demotivated. So I think it's a challenge for the companies. But the good news is that human beings, they are all social animals, and we are all yearning for the same thing.
Yeah, quite literally all around the world, it's the same. At the end of the day,
Yes.
with all of our devices and cell phones and mobile phones and iPads and all these technology distractions, at the end of the day, humans still want very much that human connection, and they especially want it out of their leaders. So I love that connection. You mentioned engage, which is a pretty hot topic. In fact, our book will be out next year called the Great Engagement. So what does it mean to you, though? And when you think about engagement, what is it that we want people engaged in?
Well, I mentioned human connection before. What I mean by that is that when you put that emotional connection at your foundation, you begin to discover what people are capable of. So you create that foundation for confidence, that perhaps new and exciting things for the people that can emerge, and then you motivate others to achieve something that matters to them and to the company as a whole. So how do you do that? I think you can do that in a different in many ways. One is obviously as a leader you need to be visible. So because nobody can trust or follow somebody who's invisible, so you need to be visible. You need to be out there, talk to people, interact with them. But that interaction, there are many junctions for interaction. You have coffee, you have meetings, one-on-one. So there are many ways for us where we can engage people, different junctions. Now you can come and then see an individual and ask the individual, how is the project going? Or you can ask the individual, last week, what was really exciting that you came across? So that becomes a different kind of interaction that brings the other individual into somewhat of a reflective mode. So you have to be visible, you have to engage, you have to be present. So in a way, you have to genuinely connect with people, to know their experiences, to know what is motivating them, what is energizing them at the end of the day. That's really what you want to know. So because Tom, what people are looking for is they're looking for that sense of belonging. That's number one. I remember a few years ago, early in my career, there was this chemist. He was extremely excited about his field of emulsion. Each time you talk to him about emulsion, you can see his eyes sprinkling and so on. And then one day by the coffee machine, I asked him, what really makes you come here every day? What is it in this place that you like? I thought he was going to tell me, oh, we're working on great projects and so on. And his answer was that, no, what I like here is that during lunchtime, I can go and play ping pong with Mark. Because that's the time I can meet with him, we can exchange ideas, get excited, and so on and so on. So it dawned to me that it was really that sense of affiliation, of belonging to some community that was also equally important. So that was one thing. The second thing is that individual need to feel value. I remember this manager who reminded me one day. He told me that one day I was passing in the corridor. Apparently, I mentioned to him. I said, "Hey, John, it's been a long time I've not spoken to you, but please, I did not forget you." And he told me a few months later, or a few years later, that comment made his day. Yeah, so he felt value. He felt extremely valued. So those are some of the things. But the other one also is that as a leader, you need to create that psychological safety for the individual. I remember there was this young lady. She was in marketing, and then she got transferred into my group. And she was telling me this story that when she was part of that marketing group, her boss was excited about the project that she was doing, giving her lots of praises and so on. But as time went on, there were some rumors, from other colleagues that she was not performing that well and so on. But the manager never really gave her that feedback and so on. And she conveyed to me when she got transferred to my group. She said she felt she did not feel safe in that environment. She felt invisible in that kind of environment because she could see now that I was actually paying attention to her and so on. So these are some of the element there, Tom, that I could mention.
Yeah, a lot of lessons you learned from your mother, I would imagine, Mosongo.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? How so many of these leadership lessons go back to things that we, if we're lucky, we had parents that taught us these values as young children, and now as leaders, our job is to just live those values, is just live that way, to be that way.
Very much so.
You said something earlier in your answer too that I thought was really good, which many people miss out on, is that it's something that matters to them, and we forget about this. That as leaders, we can't just be telling people what to do, and we can't just be telling people what's important to the organization.
Yes.
That effective leadership helps people figure out what do they care about, what matters to them, and then we can unlock that aspiration that they have. Then it's like it's like setting off fireworks. You can't pull that energy back. It's literally people get on fire. So talk a little bit about that, and how do you do that? How do you help people find out what matters to them and then map it onto what the organization's doing?
Well, I think you learn a lot from people's stories. You learn about their story, and at the same time that builds that emotional connection. So stories, in a way, they are the windows, if you will, they're the windows into personal experience, especially human agency, so to speak. So as you are asking people to tell the story, and you try to discover what is really bringing them to life, those enlivening experiences. That's when you can you can pick up what really energizes the individual. What really, and then if now you can enrich their experiences by putting them in a situation where they can relive those experiences, then they come out very motivated, very energized. So one thing is for them to hear the story and to have them relate their own story, because they may rediscover what actually was bringing energy to their own experiences.
Yeah, so helping, which takes time, to slow down and actually share stories and listen to other people's stories. But
yeah. Sorry, Tom.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, yes, it does take time. You can do it in those juncture, informally, or you could craft, which I did in one of the companies I was working for. You can craft a session where we are all a session where you have one employee interviewing the other, and then the employee asking the other those enlivening experiences, and then coming back and the interviewer relating that to the rest of the group. So I tried that way of doing, and it was very powerful, because the individual who's relating the story now, rediscovering or relating to others what he or she, the experience that brought lots of energy, and then the interviewer relating that to others. At the same time, they have to internalize that story and convey to others. So that was one exercise that I did in a couple of companies, and I thought it was very powerful. It helped individual getting to know each other somewhat of a slightly deeper level than just seeing each other talking about sport and so on.
Yeah, I love that, because it sounds like you're realizing that it's not just about creating relationships between you, the leader, and them, but how do I foster relationships between all of my employees, all of my team members, so they get to know each other better and they build relationships.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. Very much. Because at the end of the day, when you enrich the life-giving forces of those individuals, then great things play out. Then great things play out.
Yeah, you talk about this in your book. Your book is Be a Leader of Significance, and that there's these daily moments and actions that are really critical to leadership. So share some examples maybe of what those daily moments are.
Well, I mean, those daily moments in terms of, for example, if you give, for example, a project to an individual, as you are having the conversation to the individual, you want to not to discuss the outcome, but to discuss with the individual the process, what they felt, what was some of the surprises, what aspect of that process brought a great deal of joy to them, and then trying to ask those open-ended questions to bring them into that reflective mode, because at the end of the day, that's what the individual they're going to remember. You see, Tom, today when I meet some of the managers who work with me over the years and so on, even going back almost 30 years, what they remember is not really those great products we developed and so on, but they're remembering more the experience that they had while developing those projects. So that's really what they're left with. And today, if you look at some of the senior executives, when they leave the company and you are trying to ask, you said, "Oh, do you remember Mike?" They say, yeah, I remember Mike. But there is really nothing there particular there that they could they could say about this senior executive Mike, because he has not been able to touch nor leave some kind of legacy in the hearts and mind of the people that he worked with.
Which is part of the subtitle of your book, is this whole idea of legacy. So talk about that, and what's the significance of building a legacy and leaving an impact.
Yeah, I mean, here you are trying to build an organization, but then leadership is not really a solo venture. Leadership is not about how far we go, but really is about how far we help other progress. So while you're doing that, you want to develop people, and those are the people who are going to carry your legacy. That's why I like saying leadership is not a solo venture. That legacy include developing others, because then that's how you can scale up the impact of what you're trying to do by multiplying that creativity, multiplying that the talent and so on, and which means that you have to delegate that authority and convey a sense of confidence as you are delegating that authority.
Well, creativity is certainly a huge topic, and a lot of organizations struggle with this, getting true creativity out of their selves or out of their employees, out of their team members. What advice do you have? What ideas do you have around helping to foster creativity?
Well, it comes down really to the environment. So psychological safety, certainly people should feel safe to express their idea, safe to try, safe to experiment. So you need to encourage that experimentation. So it comes down really to that environment, an environment where there is collaboration, where people are continue looking for ideas. But at the end of the day, you as a leader, you have to you are the champion. You have the champion. You have the champion of that environment. You are the de facto energy in chief for the organization, where you have to create that level of energy, and then giving people a sense that there is an expectation for them, and you like them to generate new ideas and so on. So that's how really how you achieve. You create that environment.
I love that. I love that idea of energy. You know, that the CEO really doesn't mean much, but if you think of yourself as the chief energy officer, your job is to go out there and to foster aspiration, to foster commitment, and to get people excited about where you're headed. You know, to inject energy into your culture is, that's such a cool idea. I haven't heard that before.
Yeah.
So, what about the area of you know, confidence? A lot of people, especially younger leaders, younger people, struggle with this idea of confidence. And I know you talk a little bit about this, you know, this idea of building a culture of confidence. What does that look like?
Well, I mean, the confidence meaning that as you are delegating the authority, as you are delegating the authority to another individual, you have to look at it in terms of more of abundance. Huh? You have to have that mindset of abundance. You have to see the employee as unlimited resources. So if you go to that mindset, then it becomes easy for you as you are giving, as you are delegating that authority, that you allow the individual to express himself or herself, realizing that the individual can make a mistake there and there. Now we all went through mistakes in our own professional career. But that's okay. The important thing is that as you are delegating that authority, you also need to work with the individual in terms of providing the support, whether it's resources or other, but really to provide the support in terms of having them think and reflect about what he or she is doing, what are some of the lessons that they may learn in the process, and so on, to force that reflective mode. Huh? So that's really what you need. So that's how you build the confidence. But first of all, you as a leader, you need to exhibit that mindset of abundance, huh? And then look at employees as unlimited resources.
Yeah, that they truly have unlimited potential, and part of the job of leadership is to help unearth that or unpack that, or help them get beyond that self-limiting belief, those critical thinking that we all have in our head, that those negative voices in our heads, that we can set those aside. It allows us to unleash part of that unlimited potential, and which I think a lot of leaders get sort of the theory of that, but it's hard to do that, especially when you're constantly being pushed for achieving numbers and financial results. And so how do you stay present? How do you stay focused?
Well, I learned from my very first boss in my career, and that always resonated to me up to today. He always told me, projects will get done, but the question is, are the people being developed? So that always that always stayed in my mind. Huh? So what does that mean? I mean, I myself, I made mistakes. Huh? I can think of one mistake. There was one role that I took in one company there as a senior executive vice president there, and then that company, their challenge was innovation. So they used to be innovative. You could almost see the revenue 10% every year, and then it plateaued. So I was brought in trying to help in changing that. But that pressure was so high that I completely forgot what are the things that I've learned before in terms of managing people. So I came there. I began to be very directive and so on. I completely that self-awareness was just not there. The way I was being perceived by others, because they were showing a great deal of resistance with my approach, and I could not understand why until I was given some feedback from some of my peers. Then I have to readdress it, and then come down, and then now consult and get feedback from the team members in terms of what ideas, thoughts that they might have that we can pursue. So you are right. When you are under that kind of pressure, we tend to revert to the task, when in fact the task will be done. I mean, if you coerce people and so on, eventually you can get that. But if you try to engage people, then the output will even be beyond expectations.
Yeah, we have to slow down and catch ourselves as leaders and notice when we're emotionally triggered, you know, in not productive ways. And that's exactly when we have to double down on the leadership skills that we have and not get stuck into maybe old ways of doing things or old ruts, because that can cripple the whole team.
Absolutely.
So you wrote this book. I imagine it's a great source of pride for you, and probably like us in writing our book, very painful. It's not easy to write a book. It's not as easy as it looks anyway. So talk a little bit about, you know, the experience of writing your book. You know, what was that like for you as a leader?
Well, I think writing this book was really me reflecting on my journey. So over the years, I came to realize that even though many of those jobs were very successful in terms of market share or innovation, but really to realize that the outcome were really the results of that transformational changes that started from ground up. So it was really a reflective mode for me, and I wanted to share stories, to show leadership lesson for the other individuals, manager, or even senior executive, those who would like to enhance their own competencies, with the hope that they will find something there that either will resonate with them because of experience, or perhaps get some new tips there and there that we can do. Really, the motivation was that I believe that engagement is really crucial for organization, because without it, motivation, passion, and energy will be lost. So I wrote really the book to advocate for that impactful leadership in everyday moments. So the aim was really to inspire people to seize those leadership opportunities, create those moments of significance for others. So that's really what it is. So the book is a compilation of I have many stories in there, and those stories coalesce in a way for the reader to consider for their own journey. I'm talking about being on a mission, seeking positive disruption, engaging with the teams, energizing the organization, and so on. So that's really how I came to write that book. So over the years, I reflected and I realized that the many managers that I came across with in many of those companies, they did not always have the tool nor the support, you know, to help them enhance their own capability, or being given the opportunity for them to discover themselves.
Well, it's clear that you have a huge heart, Mosongo, a huge heart for wanting to help people and wanting to help others. That started, again, probably at your youth and through your Jesuit education and every job along the way. And for those of you who are interested in Mosongo's book, it's called Be a Leader of Significance, Build Your Legacy, Leave an Impact. You can find it on Amazon, of course. Maybe to wrap up here today, we could talk about a different book. You know, what's another book that's had an impact on you as a leader that you'd recommend to our listeners?
Well, the book I will recommend, which is a book that I read many years ago, but actually reading it now. It's called The Second Mountain. It's a book written by David Brooks. David Brooks writes for the New York Times and is a political commentator. But this is a book called The Second Mountain. And in the book, David Brooks explored the concept of meaningful and purposeful life. So he argues that many people are stuck in that first mountain. They have achieved so much professionally, individually, and so on. But what he's arguing is that there is a more fulfilling path. There is a more fulfilling path, and you have to go through that second mountain for you to discover that. So it's a book I will recommend to your listener. It's a big book. It takes time to read, but I think they will enjoy reading it, and it will force them to reflect on their own life, professional, where they are today, what they are really looking for, and so on.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal writer. He's got a lot of great books. The Road to Character is a great one. His Social Animal is a fascinating book about how sort of unconscious we really are as human beings, and that we're not as conscious as we think we are. That book definitely left an impact on me. So, well, that's great. Well, thank you for those, and thank you for your time today. It's always a pleasure to have fellow Jesuit educated folks and fellow folks who just care about helping others on the show. So thank you for all the work you're doing, Mosongo, and for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you, Tom, for having me on your podcast. I enjoyed the conversation. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.